guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I'm going to be talking about the 22 books that I would love to read in 2022. So this was a bit of a difficult list to make. I had to throw out a whole series to get it down to 22. I tried to put a mix of things in here. It's hard making these lists because obviously I don't know what I'm going to read in 6 months. So this is a mix of things that I want to read and for different reasons. I've put some things that I think are going to be easily achievable for me because I planned on doing them anyway. I'm pretty much like 95% sure, 99% even sure that these books are going to get read. I put some on that I plan on reading very soon to give me a bit of a head start on getting through this TBR. I put some things on that I've been putting off for a long time I really would like to get to, and a couple of bits that I guess I haven't spoken about in a while for a couple of these. So I have split them off into sections. We have a lot of series in here and I have counted each book in the series as one of the 22. So it will come to exactly 22 books, but we won't be talking about 22 books in depth, if that makes sense. So we're going to start off with things that I would like to finish that are going to be a little bit of an achievement in most cases, or catch up on if I can't quite finish them. A couple of these I've been working on for a number of years, so I'm really excited that 2022 is going to be the year that I finally get there. But we're going to kick off with finishing off The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, which I am 100% going to do because my book club is reading the entire Realm of the Elderlings. Now I have made this a little bit more challenging for myself because I have read one of the books in the Rainwild Chronicles in 2022, so I could have put it on this list like retroactively, but I've decided not to. So we're currently up to the live show for Dragonhaven, which is the one that I've read, which means that I have 2 books left in the Rainwild Chronicles, which is City of Dragons and Blood of Dragons by Robin Hobb. And then we are on the final series. I believe that she's writing another series, but at the minute this is the end of the Realm of the Elderlings, and we have Fool's Assassin, Fool's Quest and Assassin's Fate, which I think is going to break my heart. But if you guys don't know what the Realm of the Elderlings is, it is an extended universe created by Robin Hobb. In the very first book we follow a guy called Fitz, who is the bastard son of the prince in waiting, and his maternal grandfather drops him off on the steps of the keep and says that he wants nothing to do with him anymore. So he travels up to Bookkeep, which is like the seat of the crown, and when his father finds out that he's approaching, he abdicates the throne, and this leaves Fitz being raised by the stable master up until he comes to an age where the king starts to take an interest in him and trains him to be the royal assassin. So we have 3 series in this world that follow Fitz, which is the first, third and last series. This one is the final Fitz trilogy. That one is going to hurt me. Those are very character driven, single perspective stories that focus on politics between kingdoms and the royal family and all that kind of stuff, with a little bit of magic in there as well, relating very much to the human side of the world. And then the second series, the Live Ship Traders, and the 4th one, the Rainwild Chronicles, are all multi-perspective and they focus mainly on the magic of the world and the origins of magic in the world. So these series, the Fitz books, focus on how that relates to humans and politics, and Fitz in particular, and these ones focus on where the magic came from and the magic on a grander scale. And we have, as you can probably tell, dragons in this, and they are more at the forefront than they are in the Fitz books. Obviously Robin Hobb, one of my favorite authors of all time. I'm gonna feel so accomplished when I finish these though, because there are 16 books published in the Realm of the Elderlings and I only have 5 to go. So I've read 11, and it will be, even though it's an extended universe and it's broken up into series, it will 100% be the biggest thing that I've ever tackled. Although while I say that the Realm of the Elderlings will be the biggest thing that I've ever tackled, that will no longer be true if I can also catch up to the Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson. So there is an unspoken book that fits in with these, but all of the books in this video are backlist and books that I own. So the one that we are not going to be mentioning that is kind of part of this is the 4th book in Second Era Mistborn, is going to be published in, I literally just filmed my anticipated releases video, is it like November 2022? So to be able to catch up on The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson, I will have to also read that. But I do have a few Mistborn novellas that I haven't read yet that also need to be read, and I have The Alloy of Law, The Bands of Mourning, Shadows of Self and The Lost Metal, which are all Second Era Mistborn. Then Rhythm of War and I'm done. And I think there's 13 books published in the Cosmere so far, but a lot of it is still unwritten, so it won't be completed, sadly. If you don't know what Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere is, it is a series of adult epic fantasy series that all tie together in some way. Now I believe that we get a little bit more clarification about how they tie together in Rhythm of War, but I haven't read it yet. So unlike Robin Hobb, where I wouldn't advise that you just pick and choose which series to read in this, with Brandon Sanderson you can hop between all of the series, but if you want the full extent of what's going on in Stormlight Archives, wouldn't recommend that you read this without the others. But these aren't obviously connected until it gets to that point in Rhythm of War and a little bit earlier in Stormlight, where elements are starting to be brought in. So Mistborn starts off with the first trilogy, which follows a guy called Kelsier who is trying to overthrow the final empire and the Dark Lord, and he puts together a team of talented allomancers to do this. And allomancy is the ability to ingest metal and harness their abilities, and if you can ingest all of the metals, then you are a Mistborn. So the first trilogy is a heist story with Kelsier trying to overthrow the government, and the second era is set 300 years after that, and I don't know the plot of this yet because I haven't started it. And then the Stormlight Archives, this is book 4, is the grandest and most intricate series in the Cosmere to date. All of the books are like, I can't remember if Way of Kings is over 1,000 pages, but the rest of them are. This one is very difficult to explain because the plot of the first book is not really relevant to the plot of the series as a whole. But in the first book we have two warring people. We have the Alethi, who are one of the kingdoms of, is it Rashar? And we have the Parshendi, who are a different species to humans. So the Alethi are human, the Parshendi are not, and they are at war because they tried to come together and negotiate a peace treaty. However, at this meeting, I think there was like a party associated with it as well. The Parshendi orchestrated the assassination of the Alethi king, and so these people are at war. We are following multiple perspectives surrounding this war. We start off in the first book, we're only following human perspectives, so they're all somehow tied to the Alethi half of the war, but there's also magic swords and magic armor, there's legendary knights and heralds and all of that kind of stuff. But it's best if you just kind of go into the series and roll with it, and then eventually you'll kind of figure out what it's about. 4 books for the Cosmere, and then the one that's being released this year, and then I'm up to date on that one as well. And the one that I most want to read, when I started building this list at first, I thought, I don't really know what I want to read in 2022, and then I knew exactly what I wanted to read, but this is conditional because I want to read Iron Gold and Dark Age by Pierce Brown. These are books 4 and 5 in the Red Rising series, and while they are book 4 and 5 a little bit like Mistborn Second Era, they are a separate trilogy. However, the last book in this series, Lightbringer, has not been released yet. There have been a couple of release dates thrown around for 2022, but nothing has been confirmed officially. So I'm being a little bit optimistic, and I'm hoping that that last book is announced, because I refuse to read these until I know when Lightbringer is coming out, because I know how Pierce Brown likes his plot twist. So Red Rising, one of my favorite series of all time, absolutely obsessed when I read that first trilogy. And in this one we are following a guy called Darrow, who is a red in this color cast system where red is right at the bottom and gold is right at the top. The Reds believe that they are harvesting this very valuable resource called helium-3 so that all of the planets in the solar system can be terraformed. However, after Darrow's wife orchestrates her own capture and execution to spur Darrow into action, he goes to the surface of the planet only to find out that it has already been terraformed, and has been terraformed for quite some time. So Darrow joins up with a rebellion group to infiltrate the Golds and break them apart from the inside. So it's a sci-fi, it's set in space. We also have a dystopian uprising thing going on with the rebellion. There's also a martial fantasy plot in here. Love the characters, plot twists are wild. So excited to read these two, but I need a date for Lightbringer. So fingers crossed, I'm manifesting Lightbringer will indeed come out in 2022, in which case I 100% will be reading these in 2022. So as well as catching up on and completing things, I also have 2 series in this video that I would like to read in their entirety in 2022. The first one is the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. I took a chance, like I did with Red Rising when I got the Fairy Loot edition, so I'm feeling real good about this decision. I asked Curtis to buy these for me for Christmas, so they were a gift from him. I got the Illumicrate editions of the Greenbone Saga when I have not yet read Jade City. I have a good feeling about this. I've spoken to a variety of people who have similar tastes to me, who think I'm really gonna love this. Apparently there's a bad boy in it that I'm really gonna enjoy. These are 5-star predictions for me. Maybe I should make, no I shouldn't. I haven't completed a 5-star predictions video yet, and I want to complete at least one of them before I make another one. But I'm expecting very good things from this trilogy. All I know about it is that it is an adult high fantasy. I think it might be an urban fantasy, and it surrounds two gangs or rival families that are fighting over the control of jade, and jade is like a drug, and I think it enhances magical abilities. So I want to read these because everyone keeps telling me I'm really going to love them, so obviously I think I'm going to love them. And also because I wanted these, I asked for these having not read the first book. I kind of just want to rip that plaster off and get to Jade City as soon as possible so I can know for sure whether I do enjoy them. And like I said, it worked out with Fairy Loot. I took a chance without reading Red Rising and got the Fairy Loot special editions, and it turns out it's one of my favorite series ever, so I have a good track record so far. Now the next trilogy is a little bit of a vibe check considering everything that we've talked about so far, but you guys know I do my series in a week vlogs where I read an entire series in 1 week, and I have been mainly prioritizing because I have a lot of YA fantasy backlist on my shelves that I'm not super drawn to anymore because I don't read as much YA fantasy, but I do want to read them because I own them, and some of them I am going to enjoy. So series in a week helps me clear through them. They're also easier to read than an adult fantasy series or something else because they tend to be a little bit shorter and a little bit easier to read. Spoiler alert, this is going to be my series in a week for January, and it is the Selection series by Kira Cass. Now the reason why I'm doing this one right now, I've said that I want to do ones where I own the whole series because I have quite a few entire series on my TBR and I haven't even read the first book. And when I posted, I think it was my bookshelf tour, so many of you guys told me to read this. Like, this was one of the overwhelming comments that I got that was like, do the Selection series for a series in a week vlog. So this is a YA, I think it's a dystopian, and it's kind of like The Bachelor, and we're following a girl, one girl in particular, I think she's called America, in this competition to marry the prince. That's all I know about these. This was like a random left field gift from my best friend like 5-6 years ago, and I still haven't got to them. I only have the first 3 on here because I do own the first 5, but when I do the series in a week vlog, I'm going to definitely read the first 3, and if I have time, the second 2, because a lot of you guys have told me to just read the trilogy and not bother with the second 2 because they're real bad. So we'll see how it goes. I was going to put more series in this video that are strong contenders for these series in a week vlogs, but all of them would kind of be contenders and not actually definites I'm going to read this for this vlog. So instead, I think I'm actually going to make a video in March where I show you guys all of the series that I have that I haven't started, and I own either all or most of the books. And like with the Selection, because this definitely would not have been the one that I picked for January if so many of you guys hadn't told me to read it, I'm going to ask you guys to tell me which ones I should read in that video, and they will be the ones that I prioritize. And now our last 6 are just a stack of not necessarily random books that I want to read, but they're not entire series or catch-ups or anything. The first one is Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard, which I keep saying I want to read as soon as possible. The sequel's out this year, it's already in my anticipated releases, and I have not picked this up. But the reason why I want to read this so badly is because the Red Queen series is one of my favorite series of all time. Probably would not feel the same if I read it right now, but I read it when it was released in 2015. It was the first like high fantasy series that I ever read, and I was obsessed, so I'm desperate to get to this one. And this one is a young adult multi-perspective high fantasy. We also have Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first book in the prequel series to the Blood and Ash series, and in this one we are following some of the gods of the world that are introduced in the 3rd book in the Blood and Ash series. I was very disappointed by the 3rd book in Blood and Ash, so that's the reason why I haven't really prioritized picking this up yet, but I believe that Jennifer L. Armentrout is publishing them in intended reading order. So for me to have the full picture for book 4, which is released in March, which I'm probably going to read pretty quickly, even though like I said I was disappointed by book 3, I have to get to this one, but I'm not feeling it right now. I hope I enjoy it. Let me know as well in the comments, because I've done a reading vlog for all of the Blood and Ash books. I did the first one non-spoilery and the second 2 spoilers. Because this is the first book in a series, do you want me to do this with no spoilers or spoilers? Because usually I would do a non-spoiler one, but I can't see anyone picking this up if they haven't read Blood and Ash, in which case I can talk about Blood and Ash spoilers in that video, so let me know. One that I wanted to read a while ago, I picked it up pretty much when it was released, paid full price for it, and it was a really expensive paperback. It's £10.99, which is above the standard price, and then I intended to read it quickly and didn't, is The Girl King by Mimi Yu. This one is an adult, I think, East Asian high fantasy that follows two sisters. One of them is destined to be the empress. They are the emperor's daughters. Does that make them princesses? But one of them is destined to rule the kingdom. The other one is destined to kind of live in her shadow. However, the father names the male cousin the heir instead, and it throws them both into chaos. I have not heard many people talk about this, but I have seen it around occasionally, and I was wondering, because when I was researching this to make this video, I looked it up on Goodreads. The sequel was released in 2021, and I'm not even kidding, it has 25 reviews on Goodreads. It was released the middle of 2021, published by Galanx as well, so not like a indie publisher or anything. So I don't know what happened to this, but if this sounds interesting to you, go ahead and pick it up. It has a stunning cover. Cover for the sequel is equally as stunning. I think this has like 1,200 reviews on Goodreads, but I really wanted to read this. I'm sure I heard good things about it somewhere. The cover is absolutely beautiful, but apparently no one's reading it, so that makes me want to read it even more, because 25 reviews on Goodreads, or 25 ratings, is shocking to me. We then have book one in the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen by K.S. Veloso, which is The Wolf of Oronjaro. I've heard amazing things about this. I have to say the reason why I picked this book up is because it has a bitch queen in the series title. But this is really interesting because it's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Kings of the Wild. I don't think that this is a comedy like Kings of the Wild, I believe, is quite funny, but this is following a woman who absolutely dominated in this war between two kingdoms. She's like a fantasy war veteran, and she was the bride in a marriage treaty between the two kingdoms to hold the peace. However, before they begin their reign as king and queen, he disappears without a trace, and then I believe he sends her an invitation years later, and she goes to meet him to see if they can reconcile. I think she's a mother as well, so it's like an older hero story, which aren't incredibly common, and then I especially don't think they're common with a female main character being the one who is like this war hero figure. I do want to read the whole series of this as well, but like I said, this is backlist and only books I own, and I only own book one in that series right now. And the last one in this video is an incredibly popular fantasy series. I'm thinking that I may start this when I finish either The Realm of the Elderlings or The Cosmere, but that's Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. There is like a really superficial reason why I want to read this right now. I've wanted to read this for years, but it's hard because it's such a big series to commit to when I am reading like Realm of the Elderlings and The Cosmere, so that's why I'm thinking when I have an opening and one of those is done, I can then commit to plowing through something else that's really thick and really long, which that is not a string of words that I ever thought I would say in a video, Jesus Christ. There's a couple of reasons I want to read this. I have wanted to read it for a couple of years. I've also watched the TV show recently, which has renewed my interest in it, and the superficial reason is that I really love the new landscape paperbacks they have, because they're very much like my Game of Thrones paperback editions. So I want Wheel of Time to match, and I know that the Game of Thrones ones I have aren't sold anymore, so I don't know how long this paperback run is going to be available, like easily available for me to purchase. But 16 books, 16 brand new paperbacks, even though they are paperbacks, is a lot of money to commit to something that I'm not sure that I'm gonna like. So I want to at least read Eye of the World, so that I can replace my Eye of the World with the new one, and also get like books 2 and 3, and then I want to make steady progress so that I can actually feel justified spending that much money on all of these paperbacks. I did see them in a comic book shop. It was Traveling Man in Newcastle, I think, on 3 for 2 this week, so I was really tempted, but I just need to read this book and then I can solidly make that decision, because I really like, I'll insert a picture if I can of the covers that I mean, you've probably seen them, but I love fantasy paperbacks that look like this, especially because they've now done it for 2 series, so even though they're different series, they'll kind of look similar. I'm really into it. And the plot of this is from the show, because the synopsis on the book is actually like real vague, but this is about the Dragon Reborn, and apparently the last time the Dragon Reborn was around, he destroyed the world or unmade the world, and the Dragon Reborn has the power to either like remake the world or break the world. And a woman who is like a sorceress goes to this village looking for the Dragon Reborn, and she finds 4 or 5 possible contenders to be the Dragon Reborn, and she doesn't know which one it is, so she takes them off to the Big Sorceress Tower. This is terrible. I'm gonna stop. But yeah, I want to read that, but that was real bad. Wow. So there you have it. Those are the 22 books that I would like to read in 2022. I think I have an achievable stack here. I think we're gonna do it. I normally read about half of the books that I put on this list, but seeing as Cosmere and Elderlings are like pretty much half of this list, I think I might get a little bit further this year. Fingers crossed. I want to read Elderlings and Cosmere this year for sure, just because it'll be just such an achievement. I've been working on both of these since 2020, maybe 2019 for the Cosmere, so it would be such an accomplishment to knock both of them off my TBR and be done / up to date with them. But do let me know down in the comments the backlist book that you would most like to get to in 2022, and also if you have any thoughts or feelings on the books that I've chosen. If you've read them, want to tell me something about them, then also please let me know that as well. But aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish Candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.